Well, how about that? Hello, Rams family. Welcome to Rams Latest. I'm Brady Petrik, and Tai Simpson, you are a Los Angeles Ram. Today I'll be breaking down the most shocking pick from day one of the draft, made by none other than our LA Rams, who took Alabama quarterback Tai Simpson with the 13th overall pick. Obviously, this was a huge shift from the projections, and there's a lot to dive into regarding the choice, the roster, and what's left of the draft. But first and foremost, let's get to know the newest member of the Rams family. So, who exactly is Tai Simpson? Well, he was a quarterback at Alabama for 4 years, and he only moved up to starter during his final year after sitting behind Bryce Young and Jalen Milroe. So he started a total of 15 games, all of those coming last season. So, with such a small sample size, what exactly did the Rams see in him? Well, he has high level processing and he can read through progressions quickly. This makes sense given that his dad is a D1 college coach. He spent a lot of time around D1 programs growing up. And Simpson can deliver with accuracy, but also isn't afraid to let his guys fight for it. He can hit a tight window, but also identify mismatches and throw a ball up high and be confident that some of his receivers can come down with it. So comfortable making both of those plays. And Simpson also has some speed for escaping collapsing pockets. He can extend plays with his legs. Not quite Lamar Jackson level, but definitely as an upgrade in mobility over somebody like, say, Matthew Stafford, who kind of has his feet cemented to the ground after the play starts. And Simpson also has exhibited strong leadership skills and has routinely been voted a team captain. That's the kind of leadership qualities that you want from someone who's going to be a field general and going to need to command a lot of respect from his other teammates. So, with quick processing, a willingness to get hit for his delivery, and strong leadership traits, he really is like a smaller, younger Stafford in a lot of ways, albeit with a weaker arm. So, Simpson's performance suffered towards the end of last season, and it drew a lot of criticism for him going into the draft. But that performance dip can be attributed to weight loss issues and gastritis as a result of painkiller use for treating a bulging disc. So, a lot of overlapping medical concerns as opposed to one specific injury that kept him sidelined. A pretty interesting and unique cocktail that I think is unlikely to come up again. And he played through all that pain and started all of his games regardless. And that's the kind of trait that the Rams really value and respect in their quarterbacks. And on that note, I want to claim a nickname for Ty Simpson right here, right now. And that's Iceberg Simpson. If you don't get the reference, look it up. But I like it because it can work both ways. If he's cool, calm, and collected, then he has ice in his veins. Or if he's an unavoidable disaster on the horizon that's going to sink the whole ship, only time will tell. So, Iceberg Simpson, welcome to the Rams. Now, it should be news to nobody that the Rams already have their starting quarterback for next season picked out before the draft. Matthew Stafford has been expected to re-sign with the team and return to the Rams officially any day now. So, how does this move shake up roster plans at quarterback? Well, let's start with Stafford first. Now, the Rams informed Stafford about their pick ahead of time, and it's good that they ran it by him first. That should hopefully help avoid a situation where there's any kind of animosity between the established quarterback and the new guy coming in. I'm thinking of situations like Tom Brady and Jimmy Garoppolo or Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love. So hopefully the advance notice will help get rid of some of the negative feelings. However, this pretty clearly defines Matthew Stafford's timeline as 2 years at maximum. I don't think the Rams would have made this pick if they were confident that they were going to get play from Stafford stretching past the 2027 season. So, is there something medically that the Rams aren't telling us? I mean, this kind of calls into confidence his ability to finish the season. And I want to hear more as we get closer to the season if there's anything new that we've learned since last season or maybe any lingering injuries. Last year was Stafford's healthiest season, so this feels like a deliberate effort to have a backup or replacement ready to go rather than a safety pick. So let's go through some of the pros and cons for this massive roster update. I want to start with the pros, and that's the first and most important being that Ty Simpson can wait a year before he starts playing. This will allow him to get up to speed on Stafford's game and hopefully help cover up the lack of starts from his college career. Now, getting to wait for the first year, or maybe even the first two, is a luxury that only confident and successful franchises can afford. And it's paid off dividends in the past. I'm thinking of Patrick Mahomes sitting behind Alex Smith or Jordan Love spending a few years behind Aaron Rodgers. Now, I'm not saying that Simpson will automatically be as good as these players or that he even needs to be, but the ability to learn an offense, especially for a sponge like Simpson sitting behind a thinking player like Stafford, can really be a chance to have someone get up to speed and step in more seamlessly as opposed to having to throw in a rookie quarterback in week one of their first season. Another pro is that this is probably the highest pick the Rams are going to get this decade. They historically make deep playoff runs and usually end with picks in the high 20s and low 30s. And when else would they have the opportunity to take a second overall QB prospect? Simpson was even ranked as the top prospect last year before Indiana's Cinderella run with Fernando Mendoza, and his fall off in production in the back half of the season is what led to him slipping down the rankings. But as we mentioned before, that dip in production can be directly attributed to that single medical incident, which should have a relatively low rate of recurrence when I'm thinking about, compared to something like a soft tissue injury. I'd be much more concerned if this was, a lingering issue in his throwing arm or something in his leg or knee. But again, the weird mix of a disc and painkillers, stomach issues, it all seems pretty one of one. And I'm not too worried about that hindering his performance going forward. Another pro is that this was a strategic move when the Cardinals seem interested in taking Tai Simpson. Now, I wouldn't recommend basing your picks off another team in most cases, but the fact that the Rams play them twice, and along with the above information, makes a stronger case for why they maybe felt compelled to take him and take him off the board for one of their main rivals. Now running through some of the cons of this pick, and the biggest and most glaring one is that the Rams used the first round pick in a supposed all-in year to get a player who will not play this year. I mean, a high value pick would have shown some serious commitment to this year and making a deep Super Bowl run, especially since Stafford's longevity with the team is now being called into question. And instead, they made a pick looking towards the future, which isn't necessarily wrong or a bad choice, but it definitely goes against the attitude that the team carried into the offseason after a pretty close scrape with the Super Bowl last year. Again, Ty Simpson also has a mild injury history, which we've mentioned, although not typically recurring. It's better to have no injury history at all. And I also want to mention something that we didn't see with the pick itself, but came after, and that's that Sean McVay did not seem happy in the Rams post-draft presser. He didn't mention Ty Simpson's name and made a point that this is still Stafford's team, and this is making it seem more and more like a Les Snead pick instead of a Sean McVay pick. And since McVay is the strategist, this is a bit concerning. I know that McVay might have been upset about not getting a specific prospect he likes, and that time will tell how he thinks about Simpson, but for now, disharmony about a top pick is kind of a bad sign. Overall, I think this was an okay pick for the Rams. Not great, not bad, just okay. It casts a shadow over Stafford's remaining tenure on the Rams, and it doesn't really fit with that win now mentality. But I can appreciate the move if the Rams believe in Simpson as Stafford's successor. It's just that for now, it seems that that belief lies entirely with Les Snead. Well, one pick does not a draft make, and this obviously shakes up the strategy for the remaining rounds of the draft for the Rams. So let's take a look at what positions the Rams still need to fill and who might be waiting for them in the second and third rounds. Most importantly, the Rams still need a wide receiver. They were projected to take one at that first pick, but obviously they went a different direction. So now's the time to start looking for a good value add in the second and third rounds. I like Jeremy Bernard in the second or Kevin Wetchen in the third. Neither of these choices scream wide receiver one to me, but they should be consistent role players who can help round out the wide receiver three spot. Let's just hope that neither of them need to step up for Puka anytime soon. Again, that situation is very much in flux, but maybe the Rams know a little bit more than we don't since they didn't feel so inclined to reach for a star wide receiver one with this pick. Again, that's all just guesses. The Rams can also still look for help on the O-line. Hopefully they can grab someone who will be good enough to last between Stafford and Simpson's tenure. And I'm looking at some players like Travis Burke or Markel Bell as two options who I like who should hopefully be available in the third round. Although, given how quickly offensive tackles have been going off the board this draft, they might not last until the Rams' third pick at 93, especially Travis Burke, who's projected around the 80th pick. But Markel Bell should hopefully still be around at that point. And he has a very unique build. He's very tall and very top heavy and large, but with a large wingspan that could be worth the extra effort to coach him up effectively. Again, he needs a little bit of help given the specialty of his frame, and there's a potential that some smaller, heavier guys could kind of get up underneath him and throw him off the line, but that could be worth the coaching commitment to get someone with such a unique physical ability to become a key linchpin of that Rams offensive line. So on that note, I want to take a look at the other teams, just get a general sense of how the draft has gone so far and what kind of trends seem to be emerging. The most notable difference this year is that there were lots of trades. Dallas traded up and traded back. The Chiefs jumped up to number 6 to take cornerback Mansour Delane. I like it when the Rams get to choose who other teams pick as well, and we kind of did that by taking the Chiefs' top two corners. The Texans traded up with the Bills, and there were all kinds of shenanigans at the end of the round. The Niners traded to the Dolphins, Bills traded to the Titans. Those last 5 or 6 picks were really a shuffle, and anyone who was watching live might have had a hard time following who exactly picked where. There also seems to be a lot of less adherence to the consensus board, and people are really going after their guys at the spots where they want to grab them. Tai Simpson being an obvious example, going much higher than people expected, but also the likes of Caleb Banks, Caden Proctor, and Blake Miller. These guys all went much earlier than projected, with some of them expected to fall even as late as the second round, but the people who grabbed them really seem confident in their internal rankings and were happy going away from the consensus and grabbing their guys. Pretty interesting moves. Offensive line is also a clear priority in this draft, with 9 linemen taking in the first round. So the Rams may have to reach if they want to lock down somebody who can feasibly start playing this season. And also, teams seem comfortable with the depth at wide receiver. Mekhi Lemon fell to the 20th pick, far below the 13th where he was projected. And Denzel Boston was widely projected to go in the first round, but he has not been taken yet at all. So other teams might have the same idea as the Rams, looking for value adds in later rounds. And because of that, the Rams might have to reach to get some receiver talent in the later rounds, which is a situation that I'm sure McVay is not very happy about. Well, that does it for night 1 of the 2026 NFL Draft. Some surprises to be sure, but are they welcome ones? We'll have to wait and see how the rest of the picks go and take a look at the roster as a whole, but for now, I'm cautiously optimistic about the far future. It's the immediate future I'm a little more worried about. And I think Sean McVay might be feeling the same way. We'll have to see how we feel after another day of picks. Well, that's all the time we've got for today. For Rams Latest, I'm Brady Petrik, and until next time, go Sheep.